This might be the most fun and the most frustrating summit I have ever done in the crew franchise. Let's go. Real quick before I get into the video, if you're looking for a community of racers to play with, join our Discord. There's a link in the description down below. That's also where I do all of my giveaways, and we have every topic in there from the crew Motorfest, the crew 2, to Need for Speed Heat, Need for Speed Unbound, everything Need for Speed, and all kinds of other racing games. There's over 14,000 members there, so hit that link and join us. All right, let's get into this. All right, guys, welcome to a new theme. We have the European theme this month, and with that, the new summit, the European Qualitat Summit. Sorry if I butchered the name of the summit. It just is what it is. I don't know how to pronounce things. I'm American. Let's get into it. But before we do, quick shout out to Simgii. We combed through these events together, and he helped me tremendously with discovering shortcuts on some of these tracks. So please go sub to his channel. There is a link in the description down below. All right. First up, the cars. So the Summit bundle will give you the Audi R8 Spider in Street 2 and the Porsche 918 Spider in Hypercar. But you are going to need a couple of additional vehicles for the Summit: a drag car of your choice, a slalom car of your choice, and that slalom car needs to have score breaker parts. It's the key to slaloms. That's going to be a thing that I say basically in every Summit that has a slalom. But your slalom car has to have score breaker. Please get it for one of the classes. It doesn't matter, but make sure it has it. After that, I recommend using the Silver Arrow, but you can actually use the 911 GT1 as well. But I like the Silver Arrow. It has a lot of acceleration and it responds very well to NOS. You earn that by completing the Supercar Blondie playlist, so it's sort of a free vehicle in a sense. If you haven't done that, finish the playlist. It's already been a couple of months, and that's like the standard content for the game, so get out there and finish it. That Silver Arrow should be in everyone's pocket. Aside from that, you definitely need the Porsche 911 993. It is the fastest German Street 2 car in my opinion. I know there's a few more cars in the lineup that we can test, but for now, this thing is a rocket ship, and I definitely recommend it. The keys to this summit are mastering the insane paths that you're going to have to take through these tracks, the shortcuts that you have, and then obviously Nitro Chemist is a big thing in pretty much any summit, but for some reason it feels extra important for this one. It feels like there's a lot of room for error on these tracks, on these races, and Nitro sort of helps you overcome any type of like little skill issues that you're having. It definitely just gives you a little bit more of a boost in situations where you've lost speed and you maybe didn't intend to. Nitro Chemist is huge. You need it for Street 2 and you need it for Hypercar. If you don't have it, you're just gonna have to make your driving that much cleaner. All right, here are the pro settings for all of the vehicles I just mentioned. Now getting into the events, the very first one up is Warm It Up. Now this is with the 918 Spider Hypercar. We're starting off with maybe the easiest or simplest race in the entire summit. There aren't any real shortcuts here, but there is one really tricky corner and it's the key to this entire race. But before that, just a quick tip, NOS management on this one is very important. Try your best to keep the NOS in the top half of your gauge for most of the race. Obviously on the final stretch, you're going to want to use everything you have, but for the rest of the race, keep an eye on it. Now for the tricky corner, it's at 50%. There are a few ways that you can take this corner, but from my experience, jumping the curb slightly and then aiming for these tires on the outside of the turn seems to be the fastest way to take it, and it gives you the most exit speed when you're done. My speed dropped to about 205, but then I quickly went back up to 230 plus. So master that corner and you'll do much better in this race. Moving on to the next event called Make It Jump. This one is in any German Street 2 car. And like I said, I used the 911 993. It's the best for this one for sure. This one is definitely easier with a slipstream, but a great score can be achieved without it. And make sure you're using your NOS in air to keep your speed through all of the jumps. There's a lot of them. Now for the cuts, at 7%, there's a small corner cut to the left and then quickly back to the right. Just watch the building on the right side. You don't want to collide with that. Obviously that kills your speed. At 18%, you're going to go full blast through this section with your NOS to skip an otherwise very slow corner. It's a pretty crazy right and then a left, but you can full blast through this all the way through the bushes and onto the other side. And then the same thing on the corner at 25%, just cut straight towards the checkpoint on the other side of this bridge. At 35%, this one you're going to do a similar corner cut, but stay to the left of this stone wall, then cut across the grass and make sure you're on the right side of this tree so you can hit that checkpoint. At 62%, you can cut the corner to make the exit speed a little bit faster, and that's actually the last cut for this race. Moving on to Make It Drift, and this one you're going to be using the R8 Spider in Street 2. This car is kind of a handful. The tune that I have on here might not be my final tune of all time, but it's definitely one that I feel comfortable with in this race. So give it a shot. If it doesn't suit your needs, please look for a tune in the community because the car isn't really that great in a stock state. Although it does okay, the back end feels really loose, and I did my best to try to limit that so that the car is a little bit more controllable. Aside from that, this one is a lapped race, so I'll let my first full lap play for you. There's a ton of corner cuts in this race, so just memorize the path I'm taking and do your best to optimize it. I'm not the cleanest driver out there, so I probably could improve on this, but you can at least tell what I'm shooting for with each of these corners. Alright, moving on to Spin It Around. Again, this one's in the 918 Spider Hypercar. Welcome to the worst event of this summit. It was horrible the first time we had it a couple of summits ago, and it's still horrible this time. I don't know why they keep putting this race in the summit. It's literally the dumbest event ever. You're using street cars in the dirt, and in this case in the mud, on a circle dirt track. This doesn't make any sense at all. It should be a rally-ish type of race. But other than that, and me complaining, there is one cut that you can make on this part of the lap. You go through the trees, NOS, and reset your car at the checkpoint on the other side. And for those of you who don't know how to reset your car, it's the same as the rewind button. Just go onto your settings and turn rewind off. It's going to be in the difficulty section. Aside from that, there's not really much I can tell you. Just try not to drift as much and control your throttle around these turns. All right, next event is called Make It Climb. This one is going to be any German hypercar. Again, I use the Silver Arrow, but a lot of people use the 911 GT1 as well. So you can use either one, but anyway, I found some success with the Silver Arrow. This one might as well be a rally race with the crazy cut I was able to find. There's only one, but it is long. At 37% is where the cut starts. You need to reset your car at the checkpoint and then turn 90 degrees to your left through the trees. You want to head directly towards that next checkpoint. And keep in mind, you don't have to go through the checkpoint. You just got to get near it, and you're going to want to turn left into these trees. When you do get clear of these trees and on the other side, You'll see the yellow wall in the distance. You're going to want to head towards that, but just make sure you stay to the left of it so that you can reunite with the road. The rest of this race is really up to you and your skills. Use the gutters as much as you can and do your best not to lose traction. This thing does have a lot of torque and it does slip a little bit when you take some of those tighter switchbacks. The next event is called Wrap It Up. This is the most difficult event in the summit. Again, this is a 2-lap race, so I'll let my full lap play out so you can see the lines, the cuts, and the resets. Neither of my laps was very clean, so sorry about the shaky driving. But like I said, this race is definitely the hardest and probably the most frustrating race of this summit, so try to remain patient. The parking garage jump is maybe the most frustrating part, but there are 2 vehicle resets as well, so just watch what I'm doing in those resets and try to mimic it as best you can. Aside from that, a little tip from Simgii that I learned: you can settle down your car on some of these curbs by shifting up 1 gear. So if you're going to be in 3rd gear for the turn, try to be in 4th as you're going through it. Or if the car unsettles for any reason, you can upshift real quick and it sort of settles it down, then downshift again and get going. But it's sort of a neat little trick and it works for pretty much all of the cars, but particularly this one in this race, it definitely helps. All right, moving on to the feats. These are not that easy either. The speed trap is kind of tricky. The optimal path is diagonally from this gas station through the fences and the alley. It's a pretty straight shot if you do that, and with a slipstream nitro chemist, which I don't have and I didn't use a slipstream, and a little bit of luck, you can get a decent score. Remember that you can rewind to get your perfect path, so if you get through 1st and 2nd gear and you go over the curb and it gets a little wild, just rewind and try again. It makes it so much easier if anything goes wrong and you don't have to restart the whole thing and drive back around to the gas station. So try that, hopefully you get that, and good luck. The next feat is the escape. And I like to make these guides as short as possible, but for this escape, I think it's important to see the entire path. For the record, I probably didn't use the best car here. You should use a hypercar for sure, but use the one that you're most comfortable with, and it's best to have nitrochemist parts, but you can actually get a super solid score without them. After this route is done, I'll rejoin you for the final feat and end the video. All right, for the last feat of the summit, this slalom is actually easier from the opposite direction. So spawn in, drive around it, and head the opposite way. The key is obviously to have the vehicle with a full set of score breaker parts, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video. You also want to have the skilled affix maxed out on all of those parts, and you should also max out your skilled affix stat using your legend points as well. If you have any questions about this, you can always send me a DM or leave a comment in the video. I'm sure the community will definitely point you in the right direction if you don't know how to do this. But every little bit on the skilled affix really helps, and having score breaker doubles your points. So that's huge for this event. and you really don't want to miss any of these gates. So be careful going onto the roof jump, because if you go too fast, you will miss some of the gates up there. Even one missed gate will kill all your points. And guys, that's pretty much it. Please try to enjoy this summit. It is a very fun summit because I like these events, except that dang dirt track that is absolutely god awful. But if you have any questions about it, like I said, DM me, Instagram, Twitter, or Discord. My DMs are always open, so send them over and I will read them. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this helps, and I will catch you on the next one. Trigger out.